What's going on, everybody? It is Triple Crown 24 back today. I'm here to talk about something that I feel the hobby has lost. And to make this clear, I'm not saying that everyone in the hobby has lost this ability. I'm not targeting anyone specifically here. It's just a trend that I notice that is becoming more prevalent and something that I feel that is more harmful than it is helpful to the hobby. And that is a loss of our ability to think independently. I've wanted to articulate this into a video for a long time now, but I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to word it or to kind of piece together a coherent video that got a point across. But I'm going to do my best to do it today. And what inspired this is that I was about to record a podcast episode yesterday. I got about 30 minutes in, and I could just tell that I wasn't happy with how it was turning out. So I decided, you know what? I'm not really feeling this. I'm going to try it again tomorrow. So I go home from the office after I've gotten all my stuff done for the day, put on some YouTube, and what do you know? I see someone who I really respect who put out an interesting video. It'd be John Mangini. He puts out a video that's called A Serious Hobby Discussion. And it is one of the best sports card videos that I have seen on YouTube this year. I'm going to leave it linked down below. I highly recommend that you check it out. It is 20 minutes long. And John's video, there's a lot of points in there that I'm nodding my head along with it. And it gets me thinking. So I sleep on it. I come back into the office today, and as I'm going through some shipments, I pull it back up and listen to it again and really think critically about it again. And it inspires me to really piece together my video today. So, John, thank you for that. And again, go check out his video. What do I have to say in regards to what he has to say? Well, I'm talking about this loss of independent thinking. And what I mean by that is our ability to think critically about our decisions, specifically within the context of the hobby. I don't care if you want to label yourself as a collector, a flipper, a dealer, whatever you decide to put on yourself. And I'm not here to label you as well. And I believe that you can fully fall into multiple categories there. I think of all of us, to some extent, are both buyers and sellers. I'm not here to gatekeep anyone and say that you have to do this, this, and that to be labeled this, this, and that. In general, I'm saying that this is something that I think is universally applicable to the hobby. And again, not everyone falls into this. I want to make this perfectly clear that not everyone has lost their ability to think critically and to think independently, but it's something that I'm noticing is becoming less and less prevalent as time goes on. So it's our ability to think critically and make decisions for ourselves based on our own thoughts and opinions, and taking our own thoughts and opinions, informing those from a wide variety of sources. It can be from the little apps that people use to scan cards that tell them how much it's worth, or that can be from their precious eBay comps. It could be from testimonials from people that they look up to, which is something that I want to dive more into in a moment. It can be talking to their friends and learning from experiences of their friends, or learning from experiences of people who maybe they disagree with to get a different perspective, and perhaps even looking inwards and reflecting on our own experiences and reflecting on how we've grown as individuals in the hobby, and taking that and using that to make our decisions, whether it's buying, selling, trading, whatever the case may be. What I'm seeing less of is what I just mentioned, and more of, let me take out my phone, scan this slab, and that's what it's worth. Okay, I'm going to pay below that because the comps are this, and I don't pay eBay comps. Just very straight to the point, almost formulaic in our decision making. And it really discourages us to think deep and challenge our own beliefs and make those decisions and potentially expose ourselves to being wrong. Because if I buy a card and it goes down, well, the app told me it was worth this, so it's the app's fault. It's a lack of accountability. It's a lack of responsibility. It's a fear of being wrong. It's a fear of, making our own decisions, in a fear of learning from those decisions. And look, being wrong is not a bad thing. I make mistakes every single day of my life, especially within this hobby. Ever since I became a full-time seller, there are numerous instances where I wish I could have a mulligan on a lot of the decisions that I made. And I'm not afraid to share those when asked about it. I'm not afraid to share those on my own sometimes if I think that the conversation or the topic that I'm talking about calls for it. Am I out there broadcasting all my failures? Of course not, because I don't want to, just relive all my failures. And at the same time, I don't want to make it sound like all I have is triumphs. And I know that that is one of my faults sometimes with my card show recap videos, being critical of myself, is that I don't necessarily always show the bad things that happen, or maybe follow up on some of the things that didn't work out as well as I had hoped. Maybe that's something I need to do more going forward. But this isn't really about me. This is about the hobby in general, and not being able to make these decisions on our own without having some data to tell us what to do, or some influencer to tell us what to do. And that's really where the tie-in comes to John's video. And that was what I felt like kind of put the final piece together. One of the things that he brought up, he talks about one influencer in particular. In my first take of this video, I didn't want to say who it was, but I already encourage you to watch the video. I've been critical of this person both on my channel and off my channel before, and it is Jeff, Sports Card Investor. I'm not here to take any shots at Jeff. I'm not here to talk down on him or to insult what he does. I am just going to tell you how I see it and try to be as fair and as impartial with this as I can be. So if you're a fan of Jeff, this isn't an attack, but there might be some ugly truths that you're going to hear when I say this. And one of the things that John had talked about is that people are, they listen to these influencers, and to me, it kind of creates this chicken and the egg situation, which came first. So you have these influencers, and then you have the people who are the influencees. They are the ones who are influenced by what these people say. And John Mangini did a follow-up to his video today that I think really explores this more, where Jeff is going around in these videos and he's doing things, but he's not necessarily telling his audience that you should do these things too. Some of them are just seeing what he does and copying it. So it begs the question, where does the fault lie? Does it fall on Jeff for putting out this information that may not necessarily be the most accurate information, or maybe it's some advice that doesn't work out so well? Or is it the fault of the people who are strictly looking at what he says and does and just copying it and following it to a T without making any critical judgment themselves? And it's one of those things where personally, I feel that those two entities wouldn't exist without one another. Would Jeff have any influence if you didn't have people who were following what he says or following his content? Probably not, because then nobody would be watching his content and nobody would know who he was or what he had to say, right? But at the same time, these influencees wouldn't have come to Jeff if he didn't have that platform that he had put out there himself. So yeah, you could definitely look at it both ways. And it's one of those things where they both enable each other. I don't think that either can really exist without the other. It's just one of the nature of the beast. And does Jeff have any responsibility for those who blindly follow him? I think that's also up for debate. And how much responsibility, if he does he have for those who blindly follow him? Again, up for debate. Where do you place the blame at? Or is there even any blame to place in the situation? It's all very subjective. And I'm not here to point fingers and tell you where to do that. I think it's something that you have to answer on your own. Something that you'll see on my channel. If you're new to my channel, when I do my podcast episodes or I do my card show recaps, I do tell you some things that are truths as I believe them to be true. Or I tell you stories of things that have happened to me. My guests may tell you their own testimonials or their own experiences that they may have had. But I always try to frame my content in a way that leaves it up to the viewer to think critically for themselves and to make their own decisions. I am all for independent thinking and being able to take what others say, hear what they say, not just listen to what they say, and understand what they say. And understanding doesn't mean you have to accept or decline their beliefs. It means that you have understood it, you have considered it, and put it into your own context that makes sense for you in whatever decision you may make. And that's getting very existential. Let me tone it back down and move back into the card realm, if you will. What I'm noticing a lot is that people will pull out their apps, and I'm going to tell a few stories right now that might sound like I'm complaining, and I really hope it doesn't come off that way. I may scrap the video and start over if I do feel it comes off that way. And you might think to yourself, "Well, Triple Crown, you're just upset about this because things aren't going your way." I'm not. It's just that I am. Am I upset about this? Well, yeah, because it has inhibited my business to some extent. So I'm not thrilled about that. I'm not going to try to beat around the bush with that. But that's not the reason that I'm making this video. I'm just sharing my own experiences. So here's a card that's in my inventory. It's actually one of my favorite cards because of the player. It's one of my all-time favorite players of any sport. It's a 2007 Calvin Johnson Blue Refractor rookie. Number to 150, BGS 95 True Gem. And ever since I acquired this card and made it available for sale, there is one comp that has haunted me, and I cannot even begin to count how many times that this has come up. It's in the dozens. I will say that. Where people want to reference this one sale that was in early to mid May, a fixed price purchase outright for $353.99. That is what one person paid for this card in the exact same grade, the exact same subgrades, one time. And people have tried to use that against me to leverage a lower price ever since I got the card and have made it available for sale. And I'm not faulting those people for doing that. And this isn't, again, an attack on anyone who has brought up that data to me. But I got to say, it's gotten pretty old, because on that exact same day, there was a BGS 95 non-true gem that sold outright for $425. So why does that one have any less merit than the true gem? Conventional thinking in the hobby would make you think that the card with the better grade would sell for more. And on that particular day, that wasn't the case. And because it wasn't the case in that one example, we're going to throw all other logic out the window and take that sample size of one and make it, this is the end all be all. Now, I also want to mention that for this card in a PSA 10 or a BGS 95 true gem or non-true gem, meaning that all the subgrades are 9.5 or above or not, $353.99 is the lowest completed sale on eBay in the last 365 days. Let me repeat that. That is the lowest sale of any of those grades in the last 365 days that was actually completed on eBay. If you go out there right now and try to find one for $353.99 in a BGS 9.5, if you're looking to buy the slab and not the card, that's something that John talked about in his video, and I couldn't agree more with it. Guess what? You're not going to be able to get one as of right now. And the reason I can tell you that is because the seller who has the only one listed is not going to accept that price because I want more for it. Guess who the seller of that card is? That's me. Okay. I'm not here to be a dick about it and say that, trying to moralize or grandstand on anyone or telling you that you're not going to get a good deal on my card. I'm just telling you that I'm not going to, cave in because one example of this card sold for that one time without taking into context anything else about what the current availability is. And if you're someone who's really after this card in your collection, then you kind of are at the mercy of what's available now. And there's no problem with waiting. You don't have to buy mine, but it means you're going to have to wait for another one to come out, or you're going to have to buy one in a different grade. You're going to have to buy a PSA 9 or a PSA 10 or lower if any of those happen to appear. I think right now there's only 9s and then maybe 110 that's out there. Didn't study it down to a science, but something that I'm noticing. I was also asked about this card. Show it one more time here at the show that I set up at this past weekend. And one of the people who was interested in it, again, this isn't to knock them or discredit them, but they asked me, do you have like any information on the comps on it? As if, is it my job as the seller to know all the completed sales of my card? I'm not trying to sell you this card on eBay. I'm here trying to sell you this card at a card show. And if you want to use that data, to make your decision on whether or not you think that this card is right for you, go right ahead. But I'm not going to present all that data. It's out there if you want to go look for it. I've definitely looked at it myself, and I've definitely considered it myself when pricing my cards, but it's not solely what I use to price my cards. When people ask me, so do you normally pay like X% of comps or whatever? I pay something that I think is fair for both parties. That's what I pay for cards. I don't have a certain percentage. Sometimes I'll pay 110% if it's something that I really believe in and something that I really like. It just depends on what the context is, and it's different for every single card. But I don't research these cards to the extent where I'm keeping up with the comps every single day, especially on cards like this where they're transacted so few and far between, especially when you want to look at them in a specific grade. There's plenty of transactions for the blue refractor. There's probably about a dozen in the last year, which isn't a whole lot, but there's enough out there to maybe get a general basis of what people typically pay for it. Of course, the hobby is a lot different price wise in 2021 than it is in 2022. That's really no secret to anyone. But I'm putting this out there because it's more so about what is available now rather than what was once available. But those apps don't tell you that. Those apps don't take that into consideration. There's no formula for that. And there's no one size fits all formula that you can really apply to that, in my opinion. If someone can come up with one and prove me wrong, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear it. But I don't think that's the case. Here's another one here. This was one that I almost made a video about. Back when I did my Midwest Monster recap, I alluded to one negative experience I had at the show that I was going to do a separate video on. And I held back because the video became a little bit too ranty. And what I'm talking about is a story where I was approached by someone who was set up at a table who saw my case and asked me to take a look at the cards in my case if I was open to selling or trading. And I said, sure, I'm always willing to talk shop. I'm always, you never know when someone's going to want to buy stuff. So he pulls out this card. He thinks it's awesome. And he has a friend who is a trout collector who he shows this card to and takes a picture of. Well, his friend sends him back a screenshot and he starts laughing. I'm thinking, well, what's so funny here? There's no jokes being told or anything, but he's laughing to himself. And I'm a bit perplexed. I'm like, I wonder what he's seeing here. Or maybe his friend has a funny story to tell. Well, it turns out that his friend sent a screenshot. This is the Series 2 plate, by the way, card 446, Mike Trout, black printing plate. He sends a screenshot of an auction that was several weeks back at this point, maybe even over a month back, of the yellow printing plate from Topps Chrome of the same year. So not even the same product, not the same color of plate. Keep in mind that these are one of ones. If you want to make the argument that plates are out of 4, go right ahead. But, for each specific color, it's a one of one. That had sold at auction for what this seller and I thought were dirt cheap. We thought it was a really good deal. And he said one thing to me that stuck with me, and it kind of soured me a bit. And that was, man, that really sucks that your card just took a huge hit in value. I'm sitting there thinking, like, wait, what? You're telling me that because yellow printing plate of this card, not even this card, it's a different card. It's the Topps Chrome. It's a mirrored image. It's not even the same card, a different parallel of the same card. Because that one sold one time at auction, a different color parallel to begin with, that my card is now worth that? Are you kidding me? Because an app said that. That's what it's worth now. And it just blew my mind in the moment. I was just thinking to myself, and I thought about it a lot during my drive home that day too. Like, have we really gotten to this point in the hobby now where we have to rely on our phones and eBay completed sales, even though one cruel irony of all this is that people love to complain about eBay and selling on the platform because of all the fees and that. And then they'll take the eBay completed sales data and use it as gospel. I think it's just a bit ironic, isn't it? But because the influencers tell you how to look at these comps, there are people who are in the hobby who have this clout. The loudest voices out there tell you that this is what the comps say, that is the end all be all. And it just eliminates critical thinking. It takes away all other decision-making things in the hobby. And if it was that simple, it would be so incredibly easy to make money in this hobby. But it's not. It's not that simple. That's the video today. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Stay safe. Be kind.